Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Candlepin Stars and Strikes here at Park Place Lanes in Wyndham. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. Glad you could be with us once again on this Sunday. And we're ready for another match, our second match of the new season. Steve Vadney winning the opener last week, and he'll get another chance today against Chuck Langlois to make it 2 in a row.
Well, it's going to be a tough match. Chuck, if warm-ups mean anything, he was smoking during the warm-ups, but the lights go on means a different story. I think Steve's going to have to be a little sharper than he was last week.
All right, speaking of warm-ups, let's see some of those warm-ups. First of all, our number 4 seed, who won his first match last week, and he's won a bunch of matches over the years here on Stars and Strikes, Steve Vadney.
Okay, and Steve comes in with a 128 average. He carries a high single of 197 and a high triple of 488. Qualified for the show with a 695, five games.
All right, and Chuck Langlois, who was our number 3 seed, has been with us previously on Stars and Strikes, and he's back once again. Chuck is from Concord, and he will be the opponent today for Steve Vadney.
Okay, and he carries a 125 average, and he's one of those in the elusive group that has a 200 high single, 455 for high triple, 697 to qualify for the show.
And you saw that explosive ball on the warm-up, so we'll see if any of that happens when we bowl for real. We're going to do that in just a minute. We have $40 in the bonus ball contest at the end of this week's show. We'll be back with the first string of our match in just a minute. Don't go away. All right, here we go with week 2 of this series championship on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Last week, Steve Vadney broke that 4th place tie. He won the coin flip to become the number 4 seed, and then he went out and beat Glenn LeBlanc in our first match of this series, 377 to 352. So Steve advances to take on Chuck Langlois this week. The winner of this match will face Dan Broder next week, and then in 2 weeks, our ladder championship match with Al Cloutier here. But right now, Steve Vadney looking for his 2nd win in a row, and looking for his 20th win overall here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Be a 20-game winner if he wins this one.
Well, 6-7 left for Steve. I mentioned Chuck Langlois' 200 game. I was hit on another bowling show. I was fortunate enough to be involved with that show when he hit that 200 game.
Wow.
And, of course, you know, there is a little controversy in that 200 game.
Why is that?
Well, he really only had 199. I yelled at that last pin to go over, and it finally went over.
I see.
People don't realize that.
You said you were involved. Does this mean you were the opponent?
No, thank goodness.
Steve Vadney looking for his first mark and gets it.
First look at Chuck Langlois from Concord, New Hampshire, carrying an average of 125.
And Chuck was really firing in warm-ups.
Oh,
How
nice
about that?
shot.
The 9-pin, the last to go out. That was a heck of a shot with no wood. And Chuck gets his first mark on the board.
And right back on the head pin, 4-7 left for Chuck. And looks to me like could be Mrs. Riley's duck soup. All kinds of help out in front of the 4 and the 7.
No trouble there.
2 in a row. Steve Vadney working on a spare in the 2nd. Five fill, 1-3-6 with a 4-7 on the left-hand corner. Off the head pin with the first ball. Three, 6-10 left for Steve. Oh, just missed. Sliding by the object pin being that 3. So couple open frames for Chuck Langlois to work on, increase that lead.
41 through 4 for Steve Vadney. Chuck Langlois with 2 marks in a row to start the match. Oh, and a 1 fill. Boy, punching out the 3-pin, you hate to do that anytime, but especially not on a spare.
You wonder how you can take the 3-pin out, nothing else. Right back, light on the head pin.
We've talked about this before, but I guess it bears repeating. It doesn't look it, and if you've never actually taken a walk down near the pin deck to see it, you wouldn't believe it, probably looking from 60 feet away, which is where the foul line is. But there is a space of 12 inches between any 2 pins on the deck. They are evenly spaced 12 inches apart, and it really doesn't look it when you look at the distance when you're standing up there.
Actually, two bowling balls will fit in between the 2 pins.
Oh, big first ball for Chuck Langlois, and he leaves the 5 and 8 with wood.
Well, the wood is moving to the left now, so he's got a choice to make. Play the 5-pin clean or sweep the wood across.
Ooh, and he just got away with that with the wood sliding over. And Chuck Langlois has an early lead with a spare up in the 4th. We'll take a timeout and come back with more here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. We're underway. Don't go away. Steve Vadney, trailing early in this match, has 1 mark so far.
I have to compliment you on all your statistics, Doug. And we go back and look at Chuck Langlois. He's 2-2 on the show, but he had some incredible matches. Back in '87, he defeated Fred Winella 372-356. The following week, he lost to Roger Marcoux 352-351. Did you see the replay of that spare by Steve Vadney? And then he came back in November of '87 and beat Jack Ray 351-349, a 2-pin victory before losing to, no, I believe that was back in '89, April of '89. Scott Richardson, he lost 353-349, 4 pins costing the match there. So he's had some close matches here on Stars and Strikes.
Steve Vadney missing a single there in the 6th. I have to settle for just the 1 mark on that trip up.
Chuck Langlois leading by 7 pins plus the fill on the spare here in the 4th.
Well, the other interesting thing about Chuck's statistics on the show here, Dan, although he's only been here 4 other times, not really enough numbers to draw any great conclusions, but Chuck's average is 125, and his average here on the show is just a little under 119, but yet he's still been able to win 2 of those matches.
And another spare. He's well on his way to better the 118 in this game anyways. There you see the replay of that spare, 2 in a row. So out of 5 boxes, Chuck has had 4 marks, all spares. And
boy, he moved that 2-pin.
5 pins rocking as well. 2 and 5 left. 8 fill, 74 through 5, 14-pin lead. Make it another one. 5 out of 6.
They don't give you credit for rocking them, though. You got to knock them over. Well, except for that 1 fill in the 2nd box, Chuck has been pretty much on target. Steve Vadney, as you see, just missing at a 200 game for a high single. And he's going to have a 9 drop, leaving the 6-pin.
Well, he just missed a single pin in the previous frame, but this time he's got a little guide to the right. If he misses to the right, and that's what he's doing. Cagey veteran that he is. He knew that playing that wood, he couldn't help but glance it off that wood for the single. So if you're going to miss to the right on that shot. Spare up in the 7th for Steve. Back on the head pin, and a familiar 2-5 left, 8-pin drop.
Again, a piece of wood as a guide, although he may go right at it this time. No worries there. 2 in a row for Steve Vadney.
That's 9 marks between the two bowlers, all spares. 4 by Steve Vadney and 5 by the man you're looking at right now, Chuck Langlois. And off target, gets away with it. 4 horsemen plus the 8 pin in the back for a 5 drop on the spare. It gives him 89 through 6.
Let's see, will it come back or come over?
That would have taken it if it wasn't for that second piece of wood on the left-hand side of the 4-pin.
Last week, if you were here for the first show of the new season, we were joking at the end of the show with Glenn LeBlanc, who lost to Steve Vadney last week. We mentioned that he had become quite proficient at 10 pins, and we were joking with him about not mentioning it on a Candlepin show. But off the air, he told me that last year he while in the service and unable to compete in Candlepin, he picked up 10 pin. He had a 220 average.
Oh.
That's a pretty fine average.
Doesn't everybody average 220 in that game?
Ooh.
I mean, the ball is pretty big. I mean, spare up in the 9th or 8th for
that
Chuck
address.
Langlois.
That address for you lane operators is Dan Murphy. Steve Vadney on a spare here in the 8th.
Right
and
back.
He's got them all.
There's
First strike of the match.
3 in a row. 2 spares, and now this strike by Steve Vadney. And these bowlers are going at it this first game.
Dottie Lark working the big scoreboard for us. And Steve Vadney right back in the pocket, and this time the diamond.
3, 5, 6, and the sleeper in the back, the 9 pin. And ooh. That's about as much emotion I've ever seen Steve Vadney on the lanes. That was, boy.
A 136.
Chuck Sullivan was around. He'd be trying out for field goal kicker of the Patriots. That was either that or the Rockettes.
Yeah.
Off target again on lane 32 for Chuck. 6 fill. An interesting leave with the 1, 5, 8, and 9. These are the 4 pins that you remove to create the spread eagle.
But hitting them when you want to is something else.
Yes.
Although he does have some wood that will help. The only problem with the wood is both pieces are more or less facing him. Oh, he got it.
Off the wall for the 9 pin.
I believe it was the head pin that came back and took out the 9.
Let's see. Yes, it was. 7 marks so far this game by Chuck Langlois.
And if not for fills, he'd have an even bigger score. He's had a couple of shaky fills, a 1, a 5, 2 6s. But he's got an outstanding string going here.
1, 2, 8, and 10. Looking at him now.
Ooh, and he just missed
whoa,
it.
he's going to get it. Oh.
And now he'll have a chance for a 150 game.
Gets a little bit of help here. Off the sidewall and comes sliding back. 141, a 5-pin lead plus the fill.
8 spares in this mark. And right through the middle for the spread eagle. 145 for Chuck Langlois, and a fine first string for both bowlers, and a 9-pin lead for Chuck Langlois after 1. We'll be back with game number 2 and details on the bonus ball contest. Our mailing address for you if you'd like to win some cash here on Stars and Strikes. Don't go away. And regular size postcards include your name, address, and a number from 1 to 10. Send them into Park Place Lanes, Route 28, Windham, New Hampshire, 03087, and we'll give you a chance to win some cash. Chuck Langlois now will start the middle string here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on lane 32, and Chuck has a 9-pin lead after a fine first game, which even at 145 could have been better.
Disappointing with some of his fills. But a 9-pin lead is better than being behind by 9, I suppose.
Not quite. The 7-pin stays.
But on the other side of the coin, I think Steve Vadney maybe realized he might have dodged a bullet here, because if he did fill those marks, he could be looking at 39 or 29 as opposed to the 9 pins he's trailing.
And the 7-pin will stay there even after being hit by the ball.
Interesting approach for Chuck Langlois. He starts himself right against the ball return on the left-hand lane. But when he ends up, he's just to the left of the center of the lane.
Well, here's a chop you don't see very often. The 1-8. Took out the 1 and the 8. And now the 2.
Chuck just wants to bail out of this and go home for a while. Pretty good out.
Good effort for the 8. And an opening for Steve Vadney here early in game 2. Looking for his 20th win. 5 of those wins have come in doubles.
Ooh, everything but the 5 and the 10. Looked like a pretty good ball going into the 1-3 pocket for Steve. Going to try to cut the 5-pin on the left-hand side.
Oh, he may have it. Nope. Hit it a little too full. When he first let it go, it looked like it might have a chance. Want to take a moment here while we have a second to acknowledge the newest member of our TV50 Stars and Strikes bowling family. One of our regular crew members, Jim Penhale, and his wife Patricia, had a baby over the summer, Connor Penhale, who's now almost 4 months old. So congratulations to the new mom and dad.
Ooh, 2, 4, 5, and Steve removed the object pin being that 2. A little bit right or left, he probably would have made the shot. And so he can't capitalize on 2 open frames by Steve Vadney other than gaining 1 pin. So lead now is down to 8.
And Chuck punches out a half Worcester right. Boy, all of a sudden, things turned around. The pins were flying all over the place in the first game, and now every throw is a struggle here, it seems. Almost. Leaving the 2-pin.
Next week's challenger, another bowler from the Concord area, from Bow, New Hampshire, Dan Broder, and he's been with us before. In fact, last time he was on, he had a great match against Bob Moran. After being down by quite a few, we'll look that up, came right back with a big game of his own, but more important, that's the match that Bob Moran threw 171, the second game against Dan Broder. And he eventually won that lighter championship to get into the Megabucks Tournament of Champions and win that.
Good shot by Chuck.
Spare up in the 4th. I might have said that Bob Moran had the 171. But it wasn't. Dan Broder came back with a 171 and lost to Bob Moran 411 to 403.
That was the last time Dan was here, and that was almost a year ago. So we'll be welcoming him back next week as our number 2 seed. And watch out, Steve Vadney gets his 2nd strike. We will take a break right here, but we're going to take another look at Steve Vadney's strike in the 4th. We've got a good one cooking. We'll be back with more on Stars and Strikes in a minute. Chuck Langlois and Steve Vadney each working on marks here in the 4th of game 2. Chuck with the slim lead.
Looking at the 610. Piece of wood nestled in there nice against the 6-pin. Second piece of wood rolling in there now. And 2 in a row.
Already, Chuck Langlois has 10 spares at the halfway point of this match.
Ironically, that he was throwing strikes left and right when he was warming up before the show. He's yet to have one in the match. 2, 4, and 6. 7 fill. Try to split the 2 and a 4.
If you're wondering, the record for most spares by one bowler on a show here on Stars and Strikes is 17. It's been done twice, but not for a long time. Al Cloutier did it in July of '84, and Rick Farwell did it about a month earlier in June of '84.
And then you were close third, weren't you, Doug?
I think so, yeah.
You had 2.
Steve Vadney now working on a strike. Boy, that was a nice looking pocket hit, and watch out. Watch out for that
7.
wood now. See where it ends up. Going to be in the way. He'll just have to play it and hope.
Either real high or possibly around the red line, have it go off the sidewall and come back. But
actually, if that other piece of wood stays there, it may help a little bit. You can use it to deflect. No, it worked anyway.
There it goes. Right on the red line, came off the wall for the 7-pin. Watch the replay of that, and nice spare on strike for Steve Vadney.
As he's trying to chip away at this lead. Lost that one to the left, but still got a 7 drop. Now trails by 6 at the halfway point. And he was high on the headpin.
Can cut it down one more with a 10 box, but no, he matches the 9 that Chuck Langlois has in the 6th frame. Chuck Langlois up for his 7th and 8th.
Well, let's see if the wood will accomplish anything on the 1, 2, 4, 6, and 10. No, missed the headpin.
Choice here whether to go for the headpin and maybe get all 3 of them, or go down and get the 6-10. He's going for them all.
Ooh.
And maybe his first strike. No, not quite. 5-pin. And it's hard to tell if that's rested against the 5 or not. Chuck's looking at it too. I think he may be able to go directly at the 5-pin and drive the ball right straight through. Oh, he's so high. He doesn't think it's frozen. So he tried to go to the left-hand tip of the piece of wood out in front.
And he was right.
2 open frames for Steve Vadney to work on. Trailing by 6 pins.
Steve catches the Brooklyn side pocket and leaves the 5-pin.
A little hop, skip, and a jump there, trying to nudge that 5-pin over.
Looked like a light hit, but get a nice break there at the end.
Whoa, hang on. You used all that wood. Spare in the 7th. Chance to take the lead for the first time in the match.
And he does. In a big way with a 9 drop. See what kind of a chance he has here with the 7-pin. There are 2 pieces of wood in there, right in front of the 7-pin. Two more marks for Steve Vadney. Driving right through.
You see the replay. Chuck Langlois for his final 2 of the second game.
Big strike. Boy, he's thrown that ball several times, but hasn't gotten strikes on them. And there's finally his first strike of the day.
No doubt about that one. It's like he was throwing him in the warm-ups. Well, off target, half was to right.
Oh, beautifully done. What a great shot. Boy, you could almost see that happening as soon as he let it go. He had it right where he wanted.
Well, he made that small adjustment. Just missed the head pin on the first ball and chopped out the 3 and the 9. Made the adjustment, coming right back and playing it on the inside, which is the way to make that half Worcester. And right back on the head pin, a good 7-pin drop. Well, have to remember that spare shot, that last box in that game. Great shot, 126.
Nice recovery in the last 2 boxes, picking up 37 pins to make a respectable string out of it. 271 is the total. Through 2 for Chuck Langlois. And Steve Vadney loses the fill ball, but he'll get a strike anyway.
Oh, wow.
He lost that one way off to the left, and he got a backdoor strike. Watch this one.
Oh, that's be a little demoralizing for your opponent. Missed the head pin, and bad enough he might have had a 7 or 8 pin drop, but to come back and get the strike on you.
Oh, and wouldn't you know it, big 9 and a chance for another mark. He actually didn't miss the head pin by that much on the strike. It was not as much as I at first thought. Spare on strike. And a possible 150 for Steve Vadney. With 1 ball to go. He has taken the lead in the match.
Lead by 15 and make it 2 more. I believe the lead is going to be 17 pins for Steve Vadney now.
A 152, and you are exactly right. A 17-pin advantage for Steve Vadney with 1 game to go. We'll be back to settle it on Stars and Strikes after these words. Well, we've got a good match going here. Steve Vadney and Chuck Langlois both threatening to go over the 400 mark, but Steve has the lead. Should have been better. A reminder that if you'd like to join us here in person as we tape Candlepin Stars and Strikes at Park Place Lanes in Wyndham, we'd love to have you come down. And our next taping session is 2 weeks from today, Sunday, October 29th. We'll be here all day long. We usually start about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning and continue until 4 or 4:30 or so in the afternoon. And we'd love to have you join us in person to see Candlepin Stars and Strikes as it is taped. Say hello. Park Place Lane is very easy to find. Exit 3 off Route 93. Take Route 111 east to Route 28 north, just up the road on the right-hand side, not far from Canopy Lake Park. So that's Sunday, October 29th, our next taping session here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. We'd love to see you.
In fact, that's where the crew goes after tape. It's Canopy Lake Park.
Do they really?
Yeah, that's their hangout. Yeah. Yep.
Chuck Langlois.
Turnaround's fair play, almost. everything down but that head pin. And that's a mark. You can gain some of them, those pins, 17 pins back.
Chuck has gained one already with the mark. See how much more he can take off that lead. Love a big fill and another one right here.
Yeah, I can't get any bigger than that. Whoa, boy, he just tripped that 6-pin out. A perfect ball in the 1-2 pocket. Off the wall, trips the 6-pin, strike on spare, and quickly 11 of those pins go down.
Actually, with a good fill on the strike, the lead will be gone. So we're basically starting from even here with 8 boxes to go. And Steve Vadney is all of a sudden struggling. He finished that middle game with 6 marks in the last 7 boxes. But now he's had 3 open frames in a row to begin the 3rd and final string.
28 through 3.
Slipping off. Wow, that is an unusual lead. 1, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't believe I've ever seen that before.
1 and 3, and then the back row. And he converts it for the spare. Great shot. You see the replay of that. Head pin does the final damage on the 7-pin. Chuck Langlois working on a strike.
Ooh. Oh, he probably might have been better off if that had stayed up.
Possibly.
Went.
Let's see where the wood settles down, but I think you're right, Doug. I think you would have preferred that one to stay up. However, he's going to have a shot at the piece of wood that's almost looking directly at him. He's going to have to use. Right there. Nice try.
Chuck has now taken the lead by 3. And it's still 3. But now he's opposite a mark. Chuck Langlois is now with 14 marks. Steve Vadney has 12 and another half Worcester, this time on the left side.
Well, last time he faced the half Worcester was on the right side, but he was able to convert it the last box of the 2nd game, which was a big mark at the time.
Boy, he used a different method this time and almost got it again. It'll be a 9. That's an 8 fill on a spare, and the 5-7 for Steve Vadney.
Well, that piece of wood in front of the 5 was going to swing all the way around, but it was stopped by another piece of wood in the back. Would have gave him a much better angle on the 7-pin. Back and forth we go.
Steve has the lead back by 8. Make it 6. 6-pin lead for Steve Vadney through the completed frames.
And everything but the 5. And that's what it is, everything but the 5. Looks to me the piece of wood on the left would be turned enough so he could play that one if he wanted to.
Oh, wow.
Right. Went right at the 5-pin, capped that piece of wood. The ball went one way, the wood went the other, and the 5 still stands. Crucial miss there for Steve Vadney. I think he kind of rushed that shot.
He may think about those 2 boxes, the 5-7 that he just missed, and then the single.
2 open frames for Chuck Langlois to work on. Oh, he wants some wood to stick around. Well, better with the wood than without, but doesn't have a real good angle on it. Almost I have to cap the wood on the left-hand end of that piece of wood that's lying there. Like that. Nice try. Well, all he could do.
The lead right now for Steve Vadney is 7. No, make it 6. Still 6. Oh, that'll cut into that.
Strike in the 6th. See a replay of that. This time the 4-pin is the last one to go. Much like his strike on lane 32 where he tripped the 6-pin. So final 4 frames now.
Steve Vadney is in the pocket for a spare leave on the 3-6. No.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Well, that one he hit the object pin, just hit it too flush and drove the 3-pin straight back. Make it 10. So sigh of relief by Chuck Langlois, knowing that he's got at least one open frame to work on. Of course, he's working on a strike.
Oh, and now the diamond. When things aren't going well, that's about the last shot you want to have.
3, 5, 6, and 9.
Nope.
So 2 open frames for Chuck Langlois to work on, finding himself down by 6 pins. Anything over 6 on a strike, he'll take that lead back again.
The loser of this match will take home a check for $175 and a plaque from the N&R Trophy Company of Winchendon. The winner moves on to face number 2 seed Dan Broder next week. And Chuck Langlois is now filling the strike that he left for himself in the 6th. And if he gets 3 more on this ball, he will tie it up.
You know, to make the shot, I believe he has to play the 3, 6, 10.
Well, he only got 2 more, but he did tie it up.
Well, there's the choice that he had, because if he played the 4, 7, 8 with the wood, he might have gotten 3 and got the lead. But he had to go for the spare. And now he finds himself down by 1, believe.
Yep, that's right.
Because he's opposite the 10 frame by Steve Vadney. Now Steve had a 9 in the 8th. Oh, right in the pocket.
Ooh, what a huge ball that was.
Wants that wood to get out of the way, and it's going to. He's going to have a clear shot at the 10 pin.
Wow, what a spot. 8th frame, trailing by 1 pin.
Tell me that doesn't look like a pencil standing up there. Ooh, and he pulled it to the left. Well, he can tie it up if he knocks it down with this ball. And we're down to the final 2.
Nope.
No, it's not going to happen. So Steve Vadney has got a 1-pin lead. The final 2 frames, 1 pin.
Well, Chuck can just sit back, and then he'll know exactly what he'll need when he steps up for the final time. Steve will go over and reset lane 31 again.
I think he wants to shoot at those 3 pins that are just set up. 1 pin.
And right on the head pin for a spread eagle.
Well, he's thinking 3 on one ball and 3 on the other at least. Try to pin as much as he can. Oh boy.
Wow.
Now he's going to go after the 3, 6, 10. Hopefully he can jump the 3 over and grab either the 4 or the 7.
Oh, what about that shot?
I'll tell you.
That is a big shot.
It's a clutch 10 box. Look at that. Picture perfect. Through the 3-pin right into the 4 and 7.
The reason that's a big shot is because now if he gets at least 9, he will force Chuck Langlois to get a mark to win. And there's a big strike. Oh, wow. What a recovery by Steve Vadney after the spread eagle in the 9th.
But regardless of what Steve does, Chuck Langlois will have a chance to win with a double mark.
Whoa! Unless it's that. Wow.
Still going to have the opportunity to do the same thing that Steve is doing up there, but 2 strikes is fine. But this is the important ball. He's got 20 in this last frame. he would like nothing better to drop another one, or at least a 7 or an 8 pin drop.
Full this time, and he'll take 7 for a 122. And so Chuck Langlois will need a 140 to win it, which means he needs 39, so he needs 3 marks. He has to go spare, strike, spare, or the opposite.
2 spares won't do it. He has to have a strike in there.
Ooh, and he almost got it on the first ball.
Yes, but he's not got an easy spare leave. The 5 and the 8, and that wood swung right around. And I don't believe the wood will carry the 8 pin. He's almost going to have to go the 5 pin on the right-hand side. I think if he plays the wood, he's leaving the... Oh, that's what he had to do. That's what he had to do. Now he needs this 10 box, and then hopefully he'll throw a triple strike for the tie.
Actually, if he throws the triple strike, he'll win by...
No, you tie,
2.
I believe. Oh, yes, he's 111, right.
Right. So he needs a double strike and 9 for a 140 to win. Oh, does he have to press one? No,
my.
The 10 pin stays there. And with that, Steve Vadney has won his 2nd in a row.
Couldn't have thrown a much better ball. In fact, both of those last 2 frames, Chuck Langlois buried the ball in the pocket, got a tough spare leave and a tough break on the wood on 32, and that one could have just easily been a strike.
Chuck Langlois, if he gets 8 here, is going to throw a 400 and lose.
Incredible match.
At 392 right now.
And again, right back in the pocket. And that's a tough match to lose. But Steve Vadney threw the strike when he had to throw it. Back to it.
410 to 399. Fine match by both bowlers. Steve Vadney makes it 2 in a row. We'll be back to talk to the bowlers and have the bonus ball contest in a minute. Well, a tough match for either bowler to have to lose, but someone had to, unfortunately, and it was Chuck Langlois with his 399, and he stopped by for a quick visit. Chuck, the ironic thing is that's the best score that you've had here on the show, but not quite enough to come up with a W.
No, I guess when you get the breaks, it happens. But Steve bowled well, and I bowled well. I'm happy with my bowling.
Well, the check for $175, also a plaque coming to you from the N&R Trophy Company of Winchendon, and also congratulations, we didn't get a chance to mention it earlier, but congratulations on the upcoming birth of your first child in December.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. We hope to see you again.
Okay.
All right, that's Chuck Langlois. And now we'll have Steve Vadney on lane 31 for the bonus ball. $40 in the jackpot and a 7 drop. That's usually a pretty popular number. Let's see if we have a winner. We do not. Jeanette Michaud from Methuen, Mass. Guessed 9. So, Jeanette, you'll be receiving a TV50 NHCBA desk pen as a consolation prize. Will be up to $50 next week. And, Steve, you left that one right down to the last box.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Left the door open. I missed some. Chuck missed some. And, you know, just breaks coming my way, I guess.
Were you thinking particularly strikes in that last box, or just get it somewhere in the middle?
Well, I hope so. I couldn't hit the single, so that way... Get him out of the way.
All right, well, next week, Dan Broder comes in. We'll be looking for you again to try and make it 3 in a row.
Good.
All
See you then.
That's Steve Vadney. He's got 2 in a row, and now number 2 seed Dan Broder comes in to try and break the string.
It doesn't get any easier, and Dan Broder's been bowling exceptionally well the last several months. He, too, had a serious injury, put him out for a while. So, well, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't get any easier.
All right, we'll both be back, and we hope you will be, too, next Sunday at 12 noon here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. In the meantime, for Dan Murphy and our whole TV50 sports crew, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week.